All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Nice to have you all here again. So, guys, good evening. And just before we start, yesterday, on Monday, we talked about SDLC, right? And we give ourselves some assignments, an assignment to write our understanding on SDLC, right? Please, can you all hear me? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, we can hear you. You are audible.
All right, cool. So some of us did the assignment, some of us didn't even bother to do it. It's very, very important that we consider, working on an assignment that's been given to us, whether it sounds stupid or it sounds difficult. Just try as much as you can to do the assignment. I'm going to tell you one little secret about assignments. Now, in most times when you use your platform, your LinkedIn platform to, post things and all, it creates a form of engagement amongst people. People would tend to see your post, engage, like, and of course they will learn from you. Do you understand? Most of my best jobs, guys, most of them have been from recommendation. Most of my best jobs have been from recommendation. So it's very, very important you enhance your LinkedIn by productively sharing, informations, sharing your learning with your colleagues. I said I was going to group you guys. I'm going to share you guys into groups. Yeah, I've created the sheet for the list of names I got from Pakistan. Pakistan, yeah. So I will be doing that today because on Friday we'll be having a presentation. It is very important you all do this assignment. I want to see what you can accomplish within this short period of time. Remember, it is a 1 day on, 1 day off practice, and you're also encouraged to read on your own. Don't just depend on what is being taught here alone. You guys are very, very lucky to have people who would organize a training as this, and you all will learn from. How I started, there was really, really no training opportunity. So please utilize this opportunity to also practice, ask questions, and get the most out of it. Usually, most people do not have time to go through the recording. So this is the best time you have now. Pay attention, jot, listen, and follow through. All right. Okay. So let's begin. So who can tell us, what you understand from the last class? We discussed about SDLC. Just a quick one. Let's not waste so much time. If you really know you've learned something, can you just unmute yourself? Like I said, there's no wrong answer. It is only you that is not talking, right? So just say something, then we'll talk about it together. Anyone who would like to try? SDLC. What do you think it is?
Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Who's talking, please? Your name, and you can then
Okay, I'm
go on.
Victor.
Okay, Okoa Victor, you're welcome.
Yeah, from the last class, what I got, you said, yeah, SDLC, like is an approach you use to make sure your plan is successful.
Wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you so much, Okoa Victor. SDLC is an approach we use to make sure our plan, what is the plan? The software project or the product we are about to build or implement is successful. Wonderful. Who else can try? Like I said, you don't necessarily need to give me a definition from your dictionary. So far, you understand it is enough for me. That's the plan for today's class.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Philip, I'm trying here, Philip.
Okay, Philip. I think I hear the lady's voice. Okay, let's go on, Philip. Then the other person will talk.
Okay. Okay. I understand that LDSC has to do with planning. You have
Planning.
you have to plan, then you have to get the product requirements. For each product, you must know the requirement, what it takes. Yes, and I know that from this you need to come up with a design for your products. Once you are done with the design, you need to develop the products, test the products, and then you deploy. And also you have to put in place a maintenance culture of your products. I think from the summary of what I learned last week, you just have to do with the planning, requirement, design, and all of that. Making sure your product or your software meets and also, if possible, exceed the end user expectation.
Wonderful. This is very brilliant. Thank you so much, Philip.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. John. My name is Deborah Shoyombo. So,
Deborah, welcome.
yes. So, yes, they've spoken, and also what I learned again in SDLC, I learned about the models. I could remember one very well, the waterfall. So, like, it's like a Lillian process. So there are processes to it per se, and Udeme explained that the same way that like a physical waterfall, the same way that there are processes from where it falls from, is the same way you are going to follow the process to when you want to use it in SDLC models too. And I think we spoke about interactive model and
iterating.
Sorry. Iterating, maybe I jot well. And also the agile model too. Yes, and the spiral model. Yeah. I remember those ones too. So basically, I got that part too. And on another one I will have said about the physics, Philip already mentioned it.
Okay, wonderful. It means everybody is now a pro at this stage. You all should be testing application and testing and giving excellent results, isn't it?
We can try.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you too for teaching us.
Yeah, is that all, or I don't know if any other person has something to say? So, let me give you the chance. Who has any other definition?
Deborah has finished saying everything I wanted to say.
Okay.
But she didn't mention the V model. So the V model is almost like the waterfall, but it's in the V shape.
Who is talking? Yeah. Oh, please, you Gloria. Tell me your name. Oh, Gloria.
My name is Gloria. Yes.
Okay, yeah, Gloria. You're welcome. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. You also mentioned that my name is Victor.
Yeah,
you
Victor.
also mentioned that without the coding, the description, the early stage is called the static testing, while after the implementation and every other thing is called the dynamic testing process. And you also said that that's the functional and the non-functional, where you have the how do you call it? Performance and every other thing.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Wonderful. At least you tried to remember it. That was great. Yeah. You guys really tried. To be honest, this is very fantastic. Now, let me tell you something. In spite of all this thing that we are talking about, there is something that is very, very crucial, very, very important. Don't let anybody shut you up, please. A lot of people have, kept quiet, and they really, they really didn't ask their question. They didn't express themselves. They didn't become the best. In fact, they joined the class. People did not even feel their presence at all. So please do not let anybody shut you up. I'm not, always strive to come out of your shell and be the best you can be. whether this thing is, not giving you chance to attend at this time, but at least you can attend from the comfort of where you are. Make sure you participate, very, very importantly. Whether you're learning your technical skills, always remember the non-technical skills. Remember, our non-technical skills is communication. Make sure you're communicating with your colleagues. I don't know if you guys have a group aside from your group where you guys communicate with yourself, share number. Even very important. Don't just join this training and don't connect with people. It is a very wrong thing to do. Hmm? Don't do it. Make sure you connect with people. If you see somebody that is very outspoken, that knows this thing, remember you had a plan before you joined, right? So if you see someone that interests you, or someone that has asked questions you like, or someone that that has this eagerness to learn, please sync up with that person. It's very important. Because at the end of the day, it is just you against the world, okay? I would really love to share some interview tips with you guys, but I don't know if my time would permit me. You guys can always, I don't know how you do it. Maybe after this, I might share it as a folder, you know. So you guys, because the most important thing is, like I said, don't let anybody shut you up. If you feel you know it, go for it, right? Keep going for it. Keep failing till you get it. All right, so let's start. Thank you guys for everyone that has spoken. Wonderful. You did very, very well. So today we'll be moving into STLC. I am sure we already learned SDLC. I am confident that even if they ask you, you'll be able to say something. So that one is settled. Now we are moving into STLC. Let's check what we have on the screen. It says human beings are prone to mistakes because of inattention, incorrect assumptions, carelessness, or inadequate knowledge of the system. This very nature of humans makes software vulnerable to bugs, mistakes, defects, and errors. To prevent and correct these different types of issues, testing is required. Of course, just like your plan, if you want to buy a car, you might be successful in saving 200K the first month. The next month, probably there will be bills or unforeseen circumstances that will just come and you divert all your money there. It means that that particular plan did not succeed for that month. Okay. So a lot of things can happen. So even while trying to build an application, a lot of things can happen. The person that is developing the application might miss out a function, an important function from the requirement. Anything can happen. Just think of any worst case scenario. So testing is required to double check, to confirm that, okay, this thing we are building is actually built right, correctly. Functionalities are working perfectly. Okay. Then we'll check other things we'll be looking at, or how to ensure your testing is going according to plan. So we move. Traditionally, software testing was done in a single phase, and that too only once the implementation or coding used to get completed. I mean, this is talking about the waterfall. But the increasing complexity of software application led to the evolution of software testing. Okay. Now, STLC. Remember, STLC is basically what testers do in the SDLC. Like you rightfully said, the SDLC is the approach used to confirm our software product is built correct in the right order and to satisfy our users. There are three basic things we must confirm. First of all, put it at the back of your mind as software tester. The application that we are building must be built in line with the requirement. Two, it must be built, tested, and built without bugs or defects, meaning it must be reliable, stable, perform well, and all those things. Three, end users should be able to use the application at ease. Now, when you're considering your end users, consider different levels of people. We have the lower class people, we have the middle class people, and we have the upper class people. Who are the lower class people? Those people that use iPhone, that has a smartphone, but they don't really know English so much. They need assistance to navigate around an application. You can see them maybe in some areas like the village, but they need to make a transfer. If you go to the village now, most of them, they use smartphone and they can still make transfer. But of course, these applications will be built and it take some time for them to learn it. So what does this mean for this kind of people? Make sure that the English used, the UI experience is not too complex. We are testing an application, ensure that all the buttons, functionalities are easily seen, found. They are easily placed in the right order. For instance, if you want to sign up, you don't have to click like 5 pages before you find a button called sign up. It should be displayed. It should be somewhere very visible. People should see it, click and easily sign up. There shouldn't be too much of information required in sign up. Sign up shouldn't carry so many details like your home address, age, all those things, except, of course, you're dealing in separate, it depends on the kind of application where major details, personal details will be required or be asked. So all these things should be what? Should be simplified. Do you understand? The color settings are all those things. So end user satisfaction is very important. The application shouldn't have defects. It is also very, very important. And also, application should be tested in line with what we have in the requirements. So now, STLC is saying, like you have on the screen, it says here, it is a systematic process of planning, creating, executing, and evaluating the effectiveness of software testing. STLC is an integral part of software development lifecycle and focuses specifically on the testing aspect of the software. Now, as soon as the requirement is that phase is done and they created a BRD document or they created whatever document, you get that document. STLC is telling you the steps testers will take before they ensure the application is built in the right way it's supposed to be built. Remember, the SDLC phase is telling you, okay, when we do the requirements, we create document in this stage, we move on to the design, we move on to implementation. You would not really wait for all those parts, but what would you be doing? The first stage is when you get to the requirement, you conduct what we call requirement analysis. Another word for analysis is to understand. When you want to analyze something, when you want to understand it, when you want to get accurate detail of what that particular research you're conducting is, or what you want to get from it. When you check the points under this requirement analysis, you have something like understand and analyze the requirement. At that point, once you get your BRD, the first thing is you understand the requirement, you analyze it, you familiarize yourself with it. You carry it and you understand it back and front to know exactly where this project is headed, what this project is about to be, what this project wants to deliver, what is the expectation of each functionality. Okay? Then after you understand it, then you now go ahead and create some documents. This document will now state your own approach, your plan, how you intend to carry out the test. It is important because as the development team are also creating or preparing their own plan on how to execute their task, they want to also know how the testing team would also execute their tasks. And in that way, the next step after you understand something is to now start an approach to now explain how you intend to carry out this test. You will create a document called the test strategy. A strategy document is basically an HLD document. What is an HLD document? An HLD is a high-level design document. In this kind of document, you want to state holistically everything that you want to be able to achieve. Do you understand? Holistically. For instance, you want to build a house. In that house, you stated the house should be 5-bedroom flat. The house should have each room should have their own toilet. The house should be a 2-story building. Holistic view, you are giving them details of what you want in that thing. Okay? The house should have staircase at the back. You're giving details, but you are not going deeper and telling them the kind of staircase the house should have? Should they have a ceiling, a wooden, a wooden staircase, a cemented staircase, or an iron staircase? But you are just giving insight. You should have staircase. Excuse me. So in this test strategy, we give an holistic view of how we want to approach our test. Because of time, we will not be able to go deeper into test strategy, but I advise you, after today, go and learn what a test strategy is. Most of these documents are not hard. Nowadays, we have more tools available that can help us learn even faster. ChatGPT, we have AI tools, we have DeepSeek. So, except you are not the type that like to read, it's normal. Some people do not like to read. You get very tired to read. But when you make research, you get to realize, oh, this thing is not even hard. With examples, you can watch YouTube and get more insights. So there's a document we create after understanding our requirement. It's called the test strategy, which is an HOD document. It's a high-level document that tells us holistically how we intend to approach our testing. Okay. Now that document will carry the type of testing we want to, perform: manual testing, automation testing. To tell us, we will also identify our defects and log our defects. To tell us, how we would identify critical defects. Will tell us how we will be able to identify medium defects that are not very critical, but of course that may impact the application. It will tell us the one that may not impact the application at all, but of course are regarded as defects. Those are the minor defects, right? So it will give us the holistic view. They will create another document, which is the test plan. This test plan is now the LLD document, low level design document. In this document, we will now go in detail. Remember, the first one was a test strategy that gave us insights, gave every other development team insight of the holistic view of how we intend to approach the testing of this new application or of this application. The second one is what we call the LLD document, which can be referred to as an LLD document, a test plan that gives us insight in detail of how we intend to approach the testing in detail. The first one is a very holistic view. It gives us a holistic view. The second one gives us detailed documents, a detailed document. Now remember, same example I'm going to use, like we want to build a house, how many bathrooms we will have, the colors of painting. That wasn't mentioned in the strategy document. In the test plan, everything will be mentioned. Test plan also, yes, we conduct a manual testing. We'll use so tool. Do you understand? We are going to conduct automation testing with so tools. Whether it is Cypress, whether it is Catalan, whether it is test projects, or whether it is Playwright or Selenium, depending on the kind of tools, you will now list it in that test plan. You will now also list how you intend to carry out each of these activities. Do you understand? Each of these activities, how you intend to carry out, the allocated dates, estimation deadlines, time you intend to carry out each of all these activities you listed. Like I said, I would have showed you guys some examples, but because of my time, I wouldn't go too deep. So, of course, you create this document here. You also go as far as creating a document called test readiness checklist. A test readiness checklist is a document we use to verify or check that we use it to check our progress, or we use it to check the steps of what is expected at each stage of our development or each stage of our testing phases. So we want to check that the environment is for instance, we want to check that we have a BRD document available. You check it. We want to check that the BRD has been signed off. You list everything thing, step by step, you need to ensure a smooth running or smooth execution of your test. Now, each of all these things, you'll be checking them. We call it test readiness checklist. You start checking each of them. So if the BRD is signed, is prepared, but it has not been signed off, you also put not yet signed off, or you put the appropriate, status. The tax, each of these activity must have a owner. Okay, the owner would be probably so person. You put them, whether it is the BA or the PM, you put the owner, and you can also have a comment. Okay, what was the last discussion regarding this? They had a meeting, for instance, and they said it will be available by Friday or before Friday. There will be a comment. So these are the checklists. It's just like you want to buy things for Christmas. Let's say for Valentine, you wrote shoes, bags, clothes, iPhone 16, and everything. And maybe on that day you only have like let's say 500K. Of course, there are some things you may not be able to afford, but those things you'll be able to afford, you check them as against what you are able to get. I don't know if it makes sense. Can anybody hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful.
Yes, can hear you.
Wonderful.
Yes,
So,
I can hear you.
okay, thank you. So these are the documents we create in this process, in this place. As you see what we have below, it says test planning. Now, you have understood the document. You start to plan your test. You say what? Develop a test plan that outlines the test approach, scope, resources, schedules, and activities. Identify test deliverables, entry criteria, and exit criteria. Now, these test deliverables, entry criteria, exit criteria simply says, or it simply means that entry criteria is basically talking about what are those things we'll be looking out for to test, right? What are those things we'll be looking out for to test? And you identify them, you start to test. The exit criteria is saying, if we finish testing, at what point do we get to? And we'll say, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
You went off. You went off at some
Yes,
point.
can hear you.
Oh, sorry, I guess I had a call. So our exit criteria is saying, at what point do we get to? Because we don't want to spend so much time on the application. So what are we going to achieve? Minimum achievement that we can get to, and we say, okay, we can now deploy application. That is our exit criteria. So let's say the minimum, let's say all the critical part of the test are passed. They passed correctly, right? The only thing that is not passing because you have some defects. And what are the defects? The defects that we have are not critical. They are minor defects. At that point, it has met the exit criteria. Application can be deployed, right? Why the developers go ahead and be fixing all this one, meaning it doesn't cause an impact in the application. So what are these minor defects? It could be that in the name field, of course, names are alphabetical, right? In the name field, you can type numbers. Of course, as a tester, you report this as a defect, but has it caused an impact or does it cause a very serious impact on application? No. But remember, people can still sign up with numbers, which can also impact the data integrity of the application. Meaning, the application will not be able to give exact, accurate result of people's name. So it is a defect, of course, but it may not cause harm. So in this place, you can define that in your exit criteria. So of course, you define what your exit criteria are. Maybe 80% of the critical function of the application will be tested and fixed. Of course, you define that, that will be looked into and signed. Then you look at the risk management. We also looked at the places in the application that can impact, that can cause high risk. For instance, your sign up, like I mentioned, your login. You cannot just want to log in with an invalid email and the users should access the application. So all these areas have high risk. Your payment gateway, your payment should be accurate. There was one time a news broke out in, I don't know the country, I've forgotten actually. They said they were withdrawing from the bank without an amount. They don't have, even those people that don't even have one kobo in their account, they were able to withdraw. I don't know if you guys heard the news. So is it possible for a system should have maybe a defect, an error? Sorry, someone was saying something.
I think it was a mistake.
Okay. So is it possible for a system should have an error that will make you withdraw without payment? Of course it is. That's defect now. That's a bug. Anything can happen. And that is why we are ensuring the application, is reliable, is stable, performs well, functions as intended and all. So all those things is what you identify and then you start to fix. Then the third thing is after you write this document and then you identify all these things in that document you've written, prepare your checklist and everything. Then you start what we call test case design. Then you start writing your test cases. I hope you can see. So you got the document, you've understood it. Of course, you move on and start documenting test cases. And when you start documenting test cases, there is something in your BLD which is called a test ID. Last week, Udeme spoke about our RTM. Abi? Hello? Can everybody
We
hear
can
me?
hear you. We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
What is
We can
RTM?
hear you.
Yes, what is the RTM?
Requirement traceability matrix.
Yeah, what does it mean?
It's used to measure.
Measure, you're wrong. What's RTM, guys? Anyways, let's move further. In your test cases, you would have a design template. I don't know. But some of you might have a different template. There is no unified template, but you must make sure the right things are there. What are the right things? Your test case must have a number. Your test case must have, now it depends on what you call it. Some of you will call it module, some of you call it test name. Depend on, it must have a module. Modules are the functionality. It must have the description. Okay? The description, it must have a test case ID, of course. It must have a text execution step. Are you with me? It must have a test data. I'm going to explain each of all these things what it means. It must have a test data, it must have an executed result, and it must have actual result. It should also have what we call status to update your status. It must also have a status, okay, where you mark the pass, failed, not applicable, not all those stuff must be there. And also you should have, make sure that you're always capturing your defects in a screenshot format. Whether you want to record them, whether you want to do a recording or a screenshot, make sure you have it. And it must have comments. Because sometimes you may go there and it may surprise you what the development or the development team has done or what they have done. So you just want to add a comment, okay, so as to tackle or express exactly what you saw or what you are testing. Okay, so in that BRD document, mostly when you're working in an agile document, in an agile environment, agile is that one where you see if your BRD has something like, let me give you this scenario. When your BRD has an acceptance criteria user story, it is an agile development. That's an agile methodology. Are you with me, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, good. So maybe you are probably working in an application, they gave you a BRD and you see something like acceptance criteria, acceptance criteria will come with some all those things. Then you now have user stories. Of course, it is agile. Are we together? Can you hear me now? I think there's a call coming in. Can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. That's an agile methodology. So that agile methodology, you will see a unique ID, something like 001, 002. A 001 will be tagged to login. That is simply what traceability matrix is talking about. It helps you to identify a functionality, very easy. So now, any way you want to explain it in your own definition, of course, I'm only giving you an understanding here. So they gave you a unique identifier to a particular functionality, maybe the login 002, the sign up, or the payment 004. Now you now come to your test case, you now put 001 login. Then you start to write test cases. It means that all the test cases under 001 is what? The login. True or false? Abina.
Yeah.
Good. If the test case was styled to 003 and is for sign up, it means that all the test cases under 003 is for sign up, true or false. Then you batch them like that. So it is very easy because trace this RMT helps you to trace your test cases. That's why the name, requirement traceability matrix. It helps you trace your test case because they are already batched by the code, or should I say by the unique identifier that they came with. Sorry, give me a moment, please.
I can't hear you again.
Please, can you all hear me now?
He said she give him a minute. Yes, I can hear you, John.
I'm back. Thank you so much. So that is how we understand our requirement traceability metrics. And I'm going to be asking questions after this class. So please pay attention, and let's see how we can, test our, our, should I say, intelligence. Okay. So I'm going to be asking. Sorry?
I have a question.
Yes, please go.
So in an agile environment, would we say that the acceptance criteria can form the exit criteria?
Acceptance, no, it's a very different thing. So acceptance criteria is basically the business, let me say the business team, right? The business team, what they want to achieve in the application. So acceptance criteria is basically looking out for how users can actually, at the end of the day, be able to perform certain functions. Now there are two different things. You have the user stories. User stories are documents and informal documents written in the perspective of users, right? How users would explore, how users would interact with the application user's story. Acceptance criteria, on the other hand, is what is expected of that application to be able to perform.
So you know that sometimes the
Mhm.
acceptance criteria are documented on a user story. So the acceptance criteria for that particular user story, the functionality of that user story to be met. Basically, so this is not about the acceptance criteria on the entire BRD. This is the acceptance criteria per user story on probably whatever board the team is using. So, example, there's login, there's a user story for login, and then there's an acceptance criteria tied to that particular login user story.
Mm-hmm.
So can that form the basis of the, probably for login, if all these things are met, even if some other functionalities, we can say that that particular functionality has met the baseline requirements and can pass.
So, you're asking a different question now as compared to the first one. The first question was, can your acceptance criteria form a base for your entry exit criteria? And I said no. Now, it is, I don't want to say yes, you just depend on that alone, but it could be a part of it. So clarify to me what exactly is the question now, so I'll be able to give the proper context to it, the proper idea around it. I'll be able to say something. Don't worry, you can say it anyhow, please.
Well, is same. I was just trying to just wrap my head around the exit criteria thing, right? Because I know that basically, like you had explained, it's supposed to be example, you set the exit criteria. Probably you meet 80 or 90% of the entire items, or probably even if there are defects, and probably the defects do not stop the functionality of what you've been asked to test, right? That can form the exit criteria. That's clear. I just wanted to know if it was possible to marry it to the acceptance criteria essentially, and say,
Okay.
okay, if this meets this, even though there are one or two defects that are maybe outside it, he can still pass. We can still fix those defects, but it will not stop deployment from happening.
Okay, I think I get your question, but let me put it in this way. When you're talking about the entry acceptance criteria, right? And exit criteria, okay, because of the criteria, all right, I think it makes sense now. I think, let me give you the concept. The acceptance criteria is documented in your BRD, right? Before you even start, before application is built. Now, these are what they expect application to perform. For instance, login functionality. The acceptance criteria should be users should be able to enter email and enter password for login functionality. Sometimes when you go to an application, you see, can you all hear me, please? A call is coming in. I'm trying to call. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. When you go to an application, you see it says enter phone number. Am I correct? Enter phone number, enter password. You can change from phone number to email. You see, am I correct? Have you seen such a
Yes, you can.
Exactly. That is what that functionality permits. In some application, you don't see that. In some application, you could see use your thumb or use email. Strictly, it tells you either thumb or email. True or false? That is an acceptance criteria. It is a criteria that that particular function is supposed to accept for performance. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. During its build, it means that when we finally build this thing, these two things we mentioned should be a criteria for signing in or for logging in. Does it make sense? I don't know who asked that question. Trying to confirm if she's still hearing me.
Vivian did.
Good. Then when we are talking about exit criteria, we are saying that after we have done our testing and everything, these are the conditions we must meet. Right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good. These are the conditions we must meet before testing can be considered complete. Before we can say, okay, we have finally tested this application and we can now fully say, okay, yes, we are good to go. These conditions must be met. And what are the conditions? They will now start looking at the most critical areas that can impact application's performance. Things like the sign up. We must ensure that sign up are thoroughly tested. There will be so many conditions on sign up. We should be able to check all those conditions should be there. Does it make sense what an exit criteria is and what an acceptance criteria is?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. I hope I've been able to clarify that. Do you guys have any other question? So we will flow on the same pace. Then entry criteria is simply saying the conditions we must meet before testing can begin. Before we can start testing, we must have some basic things available. Do you understand? What are the basic things? Infrastructure should be available. The environment to test should be ready. Does it make sense? Before environment of test should be ready. Some basic things you will need to be able to enhance your performance, your own testing activity. It should be ready. As last criteria is speaking to the application functionality. Okay, when this thing is built, these are what we expect to be functional or to be carried out or performed, by this application or functionality. Exit criteria is speaking to the things that the application should meet up with, the standard it should meet before we can consider the testing as complete. Okay, good. So then when we define test cases, we start writing our test cases and everything. I don't know. Have you guys had anyone that has taught you guys how to write test cases?
Yes, we have.
Okay, good. So I don't need to go too deep. Then number 3, you start writing
Sorry,
test
John.
cases. This is your test
Sorry,
design.
John. Were you looking for me? Did you ask or directly?
No. I wasn't. All right, thank you. So the third step, you move into your test design when you start writing test cases and all. Then you, of course, we start your environment setup. At that point, you got a requirement, you start documenting test cases. You don't have anything to do, with any environment. You don't have any. You are just writing test cases on your system or probably on an application that has been provided for you. Maybe a third-party application like Case, Zepfire, and all those third-party application or Microsoft Azure. Then this fourth stage is after you start writing these test cases, you then want to start execution phase because your test case has been completed. Remember, as you are writing test cases, they are building already, they are implementing functionality. So when functionality is ready, what you then carry out is execution, isn't it? So then you have to execute on an environment or in an environment. And that is where the environment setup begins. Then they will not tell you, maybe your institution will not tell you, you guys should not share this, application to the public. It is a confidential thing. In fact, when you log on to this URL, when you log on to our network, you may not be able to use this application outside the office. Do you now see? That is when they now start working on your network, your hardware, start installing some things. Maybe your company gives you a personal system. You may not be able to browse outside that system except the job of the organization. Then they configure all these things on your system and set you and give you the environment where you would work. We have something called the staging environment. How many of us know? You don't need to unmute, just raise your hand. Staging environment. How many of us know what staging environment is? Just raise your hand if you know. We have some developers here now, Abby. Okay, I can see David. Okay, Derek Parkinson. Okay, wonderful. A lot of you. So in that staging environment, they give you the URL where you can test. It is just like you're testing the real application, but on that staging environment, you are still conducting a test on a rough sheet. So it is a replica of what the URL will look like. Okay, so then you move into test execution. You start testing, finding defects, and then reporting to the appropriate defect management tool or the test management tool. How many types of test management tools do we have? You can just submit and tell me if you know them. Anybody? Just tell me if you know them. Test management.
Test real.
Wonderful. What? Somebody said something, but I couldn't hear. Yes, you've said that before. All right, so let's move on. So we have different defects. We have Jira, we have Trello, we have Bugzilla, we have Asana, Microsoft Azure as well. Azure DevOps, you could use that as well. Then you start tracking, and when you track, you keep testing. When you test, you report your defects. Then when you report your defect, developers will come back and tell you defect is being done. Then you go and check. Now, let me ask the question. When you report a defect and developer says it has been done, what kind of test do you perform to confirm it is done?
Retesting.
Retesting, wonderful. It's called retest or confirmation testing. So you do a retest, and of course, for those that don't know it, it is called a retest. Then when you report defect and they say, oh, defect is being done, you conduct what we call a retest. Do you understand? Then, of course, good. So when a code, for an application that was built, and maybe you've tested before and they now make some changes in the code, what kind of tests do you perform?
Regression testing.
Regression.
All right. We have some gurus here. You see them answering questions now. Follow them. Start making friends with them. Of course, you conclude this part, and you then that's how you move on with the flow. You can ask questions if you have. Then, of course, these are everything we explained, but then I now had to merge, STLC in it. As you can see from the beginning, we have the requirement gathering. In the requirement gathering, we have BRDs. And you can see here, we have different things we can, get from the BRD document. We have the FST, the functional requirement specification. Functional requirement specification. This is basically the functionality of the application, right? Requirement specification. This is non-functional requirement specification, user stories, and acceptance criteria. Of course, all this will be seen most likely in your BRD. Of course, you have this part, the TDD, the HLD, and LDD. I explained this before. What's an example of an HLD document? HLD document, anybody? Why are you quiet? Why are you guys quiet? If you know it, just say it now. I'm asking actually.
Test strategy.
Exactly. Wonderful. Who said that?
Vivian.
Oh, Vivian. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, of course, then it moves into this. Now, this release note is peculiar to Agile. Maybe some other, methodology, uses this, but most often Agile, right? So what does it mean? We say that Agile is a kind of methodology where applications are, created in bits. You can create them in bits and then produce a working version where you still work on, more of the implementation, more build. So you can implement something, and when they implement a part of it, they call it a release note. Does it make sense?
Is it like the minimum variable products?
No. In the implementation, as they are implementing it, they'll be releasing it bit by bit.
So
Okay,
like a
in
first
sprint.
version or something.
Yes, in sprint, exactly. In version in sprint. So they'll be maybe they want to achieve a login functionality. So that is what they are focused on. They can implement the part of it, the login version, the whole of the login version, and push. You want to do the dashboard. Now you're busy testing the login version to be sure okay, login is working. Then the other version they want to release, or the other part of the application they want to release, is the dashboard. That dashboard is now regarded as the release from the development to the testing team or to the whole team. Oh, guys, we have released this document and check out everything we've done. Out of all these things, these are what we've done. Does it make sense? So they give you a release note. So you pick up the release note, go through it, then you start testing exactly what is in there. Okay? And you match them against your BRD. Does it make sense? Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, and you have here, remember, we said in this testing, the first thing you do is requirement analysis. As you can see, you do what? You analyze the document. After analyzing, you create what we call the test plan, test strategy. You know all these things now, right? Of course, when you come to test specification, now they have different types of names. Remember here, you can see it as requirement analysis, test planning, test design. Here you can see it as requirement analysis, test planning, test specification. They are the same thing. All you need to do is you don't need to cram. You just need to have the understanding. After I understand the requirement, the next thing I have to do is to now write the document I need to approach my test. Then I move on to testing. Do you see? So whatever name they name it in the interview, yours is just to understand the flow. And that is why I'm not teaching you by the books, but I'm teaching you by the understanding of how this flow works. So you can be able to shine or probably answer questions or understand whatever thing that has been thrown at you. Okay? Any question? All right. So we move on. So what? Okay, can you just mute yourself, Akim? Akim, you can mute yourself. I think you're mistakenly unmuted yourself. All right, let's move on. So yeah, we have software testing lifecycle. It says here as a test analyst, one of your first and most important tasks on any project will be to review the business requirements for testability. Business requirements must have all three attributes below. Where they do not, you must raise this with the project business analyst or product owners. Number one, a allocated reference. Hello? I think somebody mistakenly omitted themselves.
Yeah, the baby is enjoying the class so with us.
Okay, so for others not to be distracted, we should try as much as we can to mute ourselves, please. All right, so we have number one, what we talked about earlier, we said, must be allocated a unique reference or requirement ID, remember. Now, it's not because I said you must have something like 001. 002, you now be looking for it. Please be careful. No, that's not what I said. A unique identifier can be A, can be B, can be in alphabetical order. Anything that is styled to that login, that is styled to that functionality, let me not say login, to that functionality is your unique identifier or a reference number. Does it make sense? So we don't start tracing and start looking for 001, 002. Are we together? Must be described as a statement of what is needed to solve a particular problem. Must be solution, system, application dependent. Must be written as the agreed granular level of detail. It should be very clear. Everybody should be able to understand what is in that requirement. Are we together? Must be direct and to the point. Must not contain buzzwords, jargons. If it does, then must be explained in the BLD glossary. Must each have a complete set of acceptance criteria if reviewing user stories. Must not be in conflict with any other requirements. It should be requirement dependent, independent of themselves. Okay, they should have a clear understanding of what they are speaking to. Must be clear and easy to understand by the testers. Must be prioritized. There's something called MOSCO or scoring techniques. You can just Google this one, what to test, how to test, and when to test. You can just, Google this. MOSCO or scoring techniques. Must be measurable, meaning words like acceptable, fast, slow, fit for purpose, must be assigned verifiable parameters, must have a nominated owner to sign it off. Your BLD, you must see somebody that goes that, you check it below, you see signed off by, prepared by, all those people, the department that wrote it, that prepared it, the department that read it, and the one who accepted it. And the tester, of course, would have to append his signature also there. Does it make sense? I must be testable. So most of these requirements. So let me ask, has anyone seen a BRD before? I mean, you must have seen one, right? Has anyone seen a BRD before? Okay, David has seen one. Wonderful, great. Is it only David that has seen a BRD before? Yeah? All right. So I just gave us a little definition of what test strategy is. Like we said, is a high-level document that outlines the approach, objectives, and scope of testing activities for a project or organization. So this outlines the high-level document that outlines the approach. How do we approach this particular testing? The objectives and the scope of testing, okay, for a project or organization. It serves as a blueprint for ensuring that the testing process is aligned with project goal and quality standards. A test strategy is typically created by project manager, test managers, or quality assurance leaders, and it provides a framework for consistent and efficient testing. Okay, so what are the key components of test strategy? Number one, you could see scope of testing. You must have a scope of testing. Defines the area of the application or system to be tested. A scope is just what are we doing so that we will not do something outside what we are doing. Do you understand? That is why you know what a scope is now. When you're testing an application, if you should be very clear of what to test. If the application has not stated, for instance, if application did not, maybe the application is divided into sprints, and he said for sprint 1 we have 15 requirements. For example, we will only test 2 out of 15 in sprint 1. What are those 2? Sign up and login. Now your scope of testing is just those 2. It is only around those 2. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Your scope of testing for that particular sprint is only within those 2, sign up and login. Anything you are testing is outside that scope of that particular sprint. Does it make sense to everybody? That's what the scope means. Testing
Yes,
objective.
it is making sense.
Testing objective is saying specifies the primary goal, such as defect identification. The objective of test, okay, when we test, when we find so thing, how do we approach, these things? So you define your defects, the criticalities of defects. Some defects, we have what we call severities, right? We have the severity, we have the high, the medium, and the low, right? What is the high severity or critical? What is high or critical severity? What does it mean? Do you have an idea?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell me.
When we talk about severity, from what we were taught the last time, we have standards of severity from the texting term, but it depends on the organization you're working with. For example, if maybe you're working with a bank, you try to transfer money to a wrong person, right? At the point of you transferring, in testing language, we can say it is not critical, but it is high. But to the stakeholder, they will say it's critical because it's erroneous to them. And so maybe sometimes maybe you're trying to work with an app, right? Hi, can you still hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can. Yes, we
I can
can.
hear you. Okay, thank you. So probably when you're trying to work with an app, right? So the app is opening, like you can open the app, but maybe probably you are trying to input your credentials. It's rejecting it, even when you're entering right credentials, it's working as expected. In testing term, we can classify that as I as well. But in a situation whereby the app is not working at all, it's critical. So that was the understanding I got from type of severities we have and how it operates. Hi. Hello, Mr. John.
He said, give him a minute.
Okay, okay.
Hello, can you all hear me now?
Yes,
I
yes.
was listening, but I was on press, so of course you know where I was. Sorry.
Okay.
So yes, wonderful. You got it. Wonderful. So yeah, the testing approach gives you that the opportunity to highlight and identify the defect. Okay, this based on what you said. If a defect happens in this way, how do we treat this? If a defect happens in this way, how do we treat this? Do you understand, everybody? So then you identify all your defects and then the severity types. Just like what you said, if you transfer money and that kind of thing happen, you classify it as high. Anything that takes any application, any functionality, right, that would impact the application to result to money loss, can it be regarded as high? Now, some would say high, medium, and low. So let's just use those one, high, medium, and low. Is it regarded as high, medium, or low?
Hi.
Hi.
Are you sure? Don't go and say hi. Hi.
It's high because
Hi.
it's money lost to them.
All right.
Ah,
It's a
Correct.
morning loss. We bang.
Somebody said.
Mr. Jones, take 5K.
Somebody said.
Sir,
It means
5K, I will answer it correctly.
it means I know it's pa. That's what it means. Wonderful.
Even
Oh
if we
yeah.
are dreaming, sir.
Oh yeah. Wait. Let's ask another one. What if a particular functionality is not working? Now, let's imagine the payment functionality. Is it high or low?
To
Payment
the
functionality as how? It's
As
not allowing you
how?
make payments.
Explain.
high.
Yeah. Explain.
High.
Okay.
In
The
testing
payment
terms,
functionality. What
high.
like is it to make
Explain.
payment
You
to
Explain.
someone or
explain.
to you
You
have to
explain.
explain.
All right. Yes, say you are not able to make payment.
Okay.
But are you able to use other part of
But
the
are you able
software?
to use
App
other part of
working.
the software or the app?
Who
Yes.
taught you guys are gurus in testing? Who taught you all this one?
Mr. Chief taught
Udemy
us.
has cooked us. Udemy has cooked us
Wonderful.
to
Wonderful.
a
So
large
you have an
extent.
alternative, Abby. But what if you don't have an alternative?
It's critical.
It's
Like
It's
critical.
the app is not
critical
working.
then.
Critical.
Wonderful. You guys, you don't need to continue now. We should just end here. You guys are
Yes,
trying
so
testers. All right, but I mean, you guys are trying. That is actually the answer. High, because it's a blocker. Okay, you cannot move further. You just hang there. And of course, if people are not able to make payments, company will not make money now. Do you understand? And when company does not make money, of
You will
course,
not collect salary. Yes.
everybody will not collect salary. So
It's
it
very
has
critical.
very, 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 very critical. So we move. All right. So we also have to identify the test levels, unit test, integration system, and users acceptance testing. What is a smoke testing? What is smoke testing? Any idea what smoke testing is?
Is a test to ensure the software is stable.
Give me an example. Don't use ChatGPT.
Okay, I think I can try.
All right, try.
Maybe for example,
Yeah.
you've tried to like tested an app before, right? And maybe you found the defect that maybe a particular functionality is not working well, or yes, and you reported the error or defect, and the developer tries to fix it and the likes, or builds probably a new functionality, and you want to test again. I think that is smoke testing. Am I correct?
No, that's I think that was the test.
That's
Yeah.
regression.
Okay. Can I try?
Yes, just you now. They will move on because of time. We have a lot to.
All right.
We have only.
So good evening.
Yeah, we have just 1 day left. Go on, please.
It's just like testing the functionalities. For example, like check whether the login is working, to check whether you can send transaction, something like a high level testing. Thank you.
Yeah, well done. But why is it that I'm almost familiar with this voice? I know Uka. Am I correct? Did I pronounce your name very well? Uka, right?
Uko.
Okay, Ukoha. Sorry, Ukoha Victor. I know Ukoha Victor. Ukoha, sorry. I know okay, let me not pronounce the name. But I know some of you. If you speak, I know you. So I know you. But what about the rest now? I can see people on this call. I can see Charles.
You don't know me. Are you serious?
I know, why not now, Gloria. I also know Faith is Debbie. Faith is there. Faith, hi. Okay. I think some of us are not on this call.
We are here.
Okay, good. Please, you guys should be speaking. So
Mr. John, sorry, I have something to say.
Yes, tell me. Go on.
Hello, Mr. John, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so For the fact, you said something about we communicating and reach out to each and every one of us, probably when we have issues or challenges. Sometimes you try to reach out, and some people don't reply, they don't give a fuck about it.
David, language, please.
Exactly. But
Sorry, I'm sorry about that, but they don't mind. They don't even give a reply. I remember that I asked someone about something about on an assignment, and the person didn't reply till today. So I
yeah,
don't know. We should just do something about that.
it happens a lot, sha, but it doesn't mean that they are wicked. Also, note that so many people have different pressure. Maybe they even saw it, but they thought they answered. Sometimes it happens to me. If you work with me, you think I'm wicked. See now, you guys are joining the class.
Like
But
now
when you
that
work with me, what do you say?
sorry,
Sorry.
sorry, sorry. It was a mistake.
Yeah. So I will take myself as an example to you, David. I don't know if that's you, David, right? You were the one that just spoke now, right?
Yes, David. Yes.
Or David. So I don't think they are doing this on purpose. I mean, I would speak for them here because I'm guilty of that too. Sometimes I might see chats. To be honest, I really want to respond, but I'll forget because I have a lot of commitments. I have a lot of things in my head. If I am this lively and happy now, but when you start chatting me, if I don't respond, you think, oh, this guy, I thought he was cool. Oh, I am cool. But a lot of times, because of my job and, of course, a lot of things I'm committed to, which may not give me that time. So just think about it like that. So many people might be busy and they might not see it. Maybe when they even see it, they don't have answer to it at that point, and that's why they are not able to respond. But guys, I think it's very important to also take what David said into account. This is gonna definitely be my 1 week with you guys, but learn to communicate, even if that's one thing you can. I believe David just said it because it's his concern. A lot of us might have so many concerns like this, but please learn to communicate, share ideas. You can't learn all these things all by yourself. It's not possible. If I give you a little brief of how I learned this thing, you say it's a lie, but then that's the truth. So prepare your mind to learning. Make sure you collaborate, share knowledge with people. Okay. And when they ask you for anything, please be very, very, very willing to share advice or share your knowledge. Very importantly, remember, no man is an island. All these things I'm saying now, it didn't start just like this. So remember, I started somehow. I had peer group. I joined different seminars, different meetings, different training. I also read on my own personal development. If I tell you that ever since I came into testing, I have never had a day break. Every day of my life, I have always, practice or do one thing, or even if it's reading. For over, I don't know how many years I told you guys I've been here. For the years that I've been in testing, every day I'm always taking one topic on software testing. And tell me why I'll not be able to have a minimum level of understanding. And that is why I say you cannot learn all these things just by this class. Let's not deceive ourselves. Take your time, collaborate with people, join forces. More reason why I said share your learning on LinkedIn. The reason is because when you tag ANST, for instance, you get to see it if you are following ANST. Then you can now see those of your members. It's just a psychology. When you see people that are also in the same association with you, you'll be forced to message or even comment on their post because you're also a member. Just like when they post your school online, you may want to, respond, or if they post your city online, you may want to say something. Do you understand? So please, let's try as much as we can to collaborate. Very, very importantly. All right, David. I believe from today they will all be responding. I'm sure they will. All right. So here we move further to the testing levels where we identify, of course, the regression. Most of us know what regression is. Regression is when there's a change in your code. The kind of test you perform there is a regression, meaning you have to check all those things again. You understand? If the change does not impact the system or the application, does it make sense? Smoke testing is a basic for functionality testing. You're just using it to confirm basically that you're able to, carry out some basic functionality. And what are these basic functionality? Number one, launching the URL is a smoke test. If you're able to launch that URL, of course, your basic testing. Sign in or sign out, log in or log out. Do you understand? All those things are basic.
Sorry for cutting in. It's like Deborah, I don't know if Deborah is using up her hand. I think her hands have been up for a while.
Okay, yeah, Deborah, do you want to say something?
Yes, yes. So I want to say you've not given us your own point of view concerning sanity testing, whether is a testing of verifying the critical functionality of the system. I don't know.
I thought I was explaining it now. That was when you raised up. I was interrupted now. Were you hearing me? Please, can everybody hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I was saying
Yes, 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 yes.
We
I was
can hear
actually
you.
saying it. All right. So I said it's a basic testing. It's just a basic test you perform. Does it make sense? To check just the basic functionality, if they are working correctly. Do you understand? Before proceeding to more detailed tests. So what are the basic tests? You are launching the URL. You are confirming if you're able to sign, if you're able to log in or log out. Does it make sense? Smoke testing is basically a basic test. Now, smoke testing is different from exploratory testing. What is exploratory testing? Exploratory testing is basically you're carrying out a tour on the application. You're exploring it. If you can
Catering everything.
Yes, if you can perform, if you can do, if you can type, if you can. But when we say smoke, you're not doing detailed tests. You're just basically checking if you can launch the URL, if you can land successfully in the home page, if you can add a product to cart, if you can check out, if you can log in, log out. Just those basic functionality. You're not doing deep testing. They're not going deeper. Does it make sense? Now, based on the kind of function you're carrying out on that application, it has its meaning. So the smoke is the basic. Exploratory is when you explore thoroughly. You're checking in and out and everything. You're recording details. Does it make sense? All right. So we move on, right? So we move to the test design and execution approach. So you describe the test cases will be designed.
Sorry, please. I'm sorry.
Yes, go on, please.
Please, I'm always finding it hard to understand the difference between smoke and sanity testing. Are they the same thing?
Wonderful. Now, this is an assignment for all of you. What is smoke? What is sanity? Okay?
I beg.
Now, let me tell you how to learn. It is very easy. I can still explain it now. Most of you will not get it. But let me tell you how to learn. If you're coming with a question, I expect that you must have already had a minimum interaction around that question, meaning you must have struggled to find the answer. Maybe it is when you now get the answer, the answer is not clear. You now ask me. For instance, if I ask, I don't know who asked the question. If I ask the person now, what do you understand by the boat? You will see that by their explanation, they will even understand it better. They will get the idea from what they are saying, or they may not even get it because they don't even know it. So it's of two ways. The first way is make sure you read about that thing thoroughly, understand it, meet with your peers. If you guys are now okay that, you don't know this thing, then you cannot bring the question. Does it make sense? So that when they are explaining, you can now see an insight in another level. Okay, this now make more sense as they explain. You now get more insight, about what you are asking. Does it make sense? So it's an assignment now. What's the difference between, in fact, what's the difference between smoke testing, exploratory testing, sanity testing? Are we together, guys?
Yes.
It's simple. You can even write this one. I think we should create, maybe Udemy should create a channel called What I Learned Today. Once she does so, then everybody can then freely put in what they've learned. Even if it could be something I say that I've said earlier that you just want to go and learn about. That is what you've learned. Then you can now write what you've learned today. Does it make sense, everybody? So I think after I'll discuss how to create a channel called What I Have Learned. So you guys can easily, start writing whatever you've learned freely in that chat. Do you understand? All right. So let's move on to importance of text strategy. Of course.
Sorry, please, before you move from there, let's just hear from the people you have mandated to add what they learned. I dropped an encourager that last week that we should post our learnings. I think just 3 people in a class of close to 60 people did that. That's David, Akin, sorry, I can't quite remember. The two, Akintunde, right? And Boyinde. I think those are the 3 people that posted and tagged their facilitators. And this is, well, we're going to 1 month in to the training. It's actually abysmal, to say the truth. The RTM that I asked, that the tutor of today also asked, was taken in the class 8 by Mr. Chooks in his class. It's bad that nobody can explain what that means. Entry and exit criteria were part of the things covered in when he was taking test plan. I'm surprised that we are doing like we're just hearing it for the first time. Sanity and smoke tests were also taken in Chuk's class. It's surprising that some weeks after, we are getting a lot of people ask this question. My question is, after the class, when you didn't understand, did you drop a message in the chat channel saying, I don't understand this, and tag at Chuks Ojugo? Please, can you further explain this? I've done my research. I checked. I went to, even if it's ChatGPT, or I went to Google and I typed, what's the difference between smoke and sanity test? And they showed me a table and I still did not understand it. Nobody did, right? We can't learn like this. Really, and from today's class, I'm even having a rethink whether to still push the beginner level to join programming language. Because if you guys cannot go over the videos and grab the things that have been taught, yes, I know that is a lot, right? But I'm not seeing that much of effort. We have 56 people on the call. If 3 out of 56 were able to post their learning, there's no point creating a Slack channel, because we have a channel of close to 90 people. 56 of that 90 people are actually active. In that 56, only 3 can post boldly what they have learned. Then it means that it's either you are ashamed of what you are learning here, ashamed of your facilitators, or it's not worth it, or we are wasting our time, right? It's not encouraging. It's not encouraging to me, because I have been in the classes and I know what has been taught and what has not been taught, right? And I expect you to communicate if you don't understand something. Chooks was very jovial. I don't see him turning anyone down. So far, we've not had any facilitator that is mean, that is grumpy, I've not gotten any reports of that. And at the end of module 1, there will be a review, an assessment that goes out for you to review your module 1 tutors. But really, I'm having a rethink as to whether to push this set to higher levels. Because if you can't, John, you are here. If it's going to be a struggle for someone to understand FST, it's going to be impossible for the person to understand programming languages. Yes or no, John?
True.
It's going to be impossible. It will be like I put a brick over your head. It will be like I have caught more than you can carry. And that's the vibe I'm getting right now, because it would be a risk. So it's better I just leave intermediates to start that part. Programming languages, from there we move to web automation and all. because I don't see how you will be able to cope. Remember, we said it's going to be an intensive class, right? And there's been week on lectures. But in between that, there has been breaks where you could reach out, drop a message and all. Right. So it's not really encouraging. I'm hoping that in this class and the next week's class, which is on API testing, there'll be a significant change. I remember a time that I said, is it that you people have magnetic brain? Some people are not going back to rewatch the videos. There are things that are new to some of you. So how do you register it? It's by learning over and over again, going over and over again. If there's any term that you didn't understand, type it on Google first, do your research. And if you still don't get it, the tutor is just a Slack message away. They keep saying the same thing, that I'm available, message me. So there's no excuse. And if you can't go through the videos that have been done in the past 3 or so weeks, you still have 5 months. Your set has 5 months of learning. If you can't go through 3 months of learning, then it means that you're not ready for the 5 months. So it's just best that I don't give you a load that you cannot bear, and I just stop it at a certain level and let intermediates continue. But I'm just going to review, like I said, I'm going to review, do an assessment, ask all tutors to submit questions. We would have a time frame where you start and end. Everybody starts and ends and submits the assessment. Afterwards, we'll send out surveys, feedback form for you to review the tutors and review your understanding. And from there, I'll get an informed decision on whether we are moving forward or not. But just to mention, this is not encouraging at all. It's not encouraging.
Hello?
You continue, John.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. So we move on to importance of test strategy, consistency to ensure all testing activities follow a standardized approach to communication. Provide a clear understanding of testing activities, testing objectives and methods to all stakeholders. 3, risk mitigation helps identify and address potential risk early in the project. Resource optimization facilitate efficient use of time, tools, and team members. All right, so move on to test plan. Of course, we talked about it. So here, it says a test plan is a detailed document. Remember, the other one says what? Is an HLD document that outlines this, that, and this. But this is not telling us detailed from the story of the house building that I talked about. So this is a detailed document that outlines the specific testing activities and resources required for a particular project or release. It is a practical guide that ensures testing is executed in a structured and organized manner, providing all stakeholders with a clear understanding of the testing process, objectives, and deliverables. Of course, there are also key components of test plan. You're definitely going to see test plan ID. You're going to see introduction, scope of testing, objectives, test approach, test items, test environment. Guys, okay, maybe, I don't know, because of time, we may not be going deeper. I'm sure the next tutor probably would show you guys samples of test strategy or test plan. If not, I think I'm still here in the chat. Maybe some of us might need a sample, which of course I'm going to look for one and share. Maybe after this class, I'll look for one and share so you guys can understand. All right. So we moved into importance of test plan. Of course, clear direction. Act as a roadmap for testing process, ensuring clarity and alignment. Stakeholders communication. Facilitate effective communication among project managers, developers, testers, and other stakeholders. How? Because this one, we are going into details of what we want to perform and what we want to achieve. So in the documents in the BRD documents, we already know exactly what the stakeholder needs. Who is a stakeholder? Who is a stakeholder? Does anyone know?
The decision makers.
Who are the decision makers? Who are the decision makers?
Do you know
Just
the
give me an
product,
example.
like the organization themselves?
Oh, okay. Who else?
The product owner.
Product owners.
You all tried, but actually, a stakeholder is anybody that contributes to the development of that project. So the stakeholders can be your developer. It can even be the SME. Does it make sense? So far, they contribute to the progress, the build of that application. They are all stakeholders. It means they have information, requirements that is needed for the successful build or the successful implementation of that software. Are we together, guys? Are we together?
Yes, we are.
Yes, yes.
Cool. So we also talk about the risk management, identifies potential risks and outlines plans to address them. Resource management ensures efficient allocation of time, tools, and personnel. Accountability clearly defines responsibilities and deliverables, reducing misunderstanding. Remember, we said in the BLD, there will be a timeline as against whatever thing we'll be producing. I mean, whatever thing we'll be testing. So if we were to do a manual testing, it will be matched against a time frame. So there will be a schedule. It could probably start from January 1st to the 31st of January or to the 15th of January. So they are time bound. They are time, should I call it, they are time estimation, okay, that are clearly defined in your test plan. So this is going to be clearly defined. So to give everybody clarity on when a particular activity will be concluded, done, or started, So difference between a test plan and a test strategy, some of us might probably be wondering, okay, what's the difference? Here you have a test strategy is a high-level document describing the overall testing approach. Okay? So yes, it's typically static across projects. It is a high-level document that describes the overall testing approach, while the test plan is specific to a particular project, release, or testing phase, and includes detailed operational guidelines. Both documents complement each other to ensure thorough and effective testing. So, like you see, the testing strategy or the test strategy is a high-level document. And here you have something that says typically static across projects, meaning it could be used across different projects. However, the test plan is something you create per project, where you give us a full description, a full explanation of how you'll be testing, the tools you use in testing, the testers, the tools, the defect tools, and every other detailed document. You write it for us, so let's know how you intend to approach this test of this particular project. Do you understand? All right. So we've talked about test cases, but let's still have some discussions around test cases. Now, test cases is very, very important because it is one of your greatest tools as a software tester. When you have a wrong test case, you definitely will have a poor outcome in testing. What do I mean? Your test cases has some minimum conditions it must, should I call it criterias it must possess. For it to be a quality test case, there are some things you look out for. Even if you were not listening or every other thing were difficult, in this test case, because you mostly interact with test cases, most companies may not need you to write a test plan because you're just a newbie. You're just starting. Do you understand? You may not like worry too much about test plan and your test strategy for now. But you see, test cases, you must write it because this is like your tool, it's like your weapon to test an application and ensure correctness, ensure efficiency and reliability, stability, and all. So, what is a test case? A test case refers to the actions required to verify a specific feature or functionality in software testing. The test case detail the step, data, prerequisites, and preconditions necessary to verify a feature. However, there are some things documented here you may not necessarily need. They are dependent on the institution you find yourself. Like I mentioned earlier, there are some things you need. You need your module or your test name. Module or test name is your functionality. We refer to modules in software testing as functionality. It could be your login module, it could be your sign up module, any of the modules serving as a functionality. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. Guys.
Yes.
All right. You must have your functionality name or your module name or your test name, your description. Okay. You also have what we call an execution step. Execution step is basically what and what or where you would navigate to be able to get to the module or the functionality or whatever you're trying to test. Right? You have a test data. Test data, we talked about step earlier. The test data is basically the credentials you need, to be able to perform actions on the test. Maybe you need a login credential like a name, your access. Okay, sometimes when you're testing an application, the application may be simulated so that you can carry out your test. For instance, what do I mean? If you are testing in a staging environment, you may not necessarily log in with strong strong details. You might log in with something like admin. Password can just be admin or 1 2 3 4 5. Then when you're logged in, you can now credit yourself £1 billion. It is simulated for you to be able to carry out transaction because it is a staging area. That money you cannot credit it into your account or it won't go. It's just for the testing. I hope it makes sense. So all these are what you need. These are your data. So all those things may not be necessary when you start testing, but it is a nice to know, nice to have. Do you understand? Prerequisites could be things you need, right? To be able to carry out that test or to be able to prepare for that particular test. Maybe prerequisites to log in, for instance, you have to be in the login page, right? Prerequisite for login is you have to be in the login page. You have to launch the URL, click on the login page to be there. Just a post requisite, post conditions can be the aftermath. What they expect, what what you should be in. For instance, I don't know. You guys can check on those online. It's not most of the time you don't get to see this in your test cases, right? But when you Google this online, you get all these details. But when you're writing test cases, you may not see these ones. Do you understand? All right. Then like we were talking about writing test cases. Test cases are very, very critical, because when you write a very poor test case, like I said, it's going to impact the application in a negative way. So there are two things you must ensure when you're writing test cases. When you're writing test cases, remember you're testing the functionality of the application. You're verifying it. We have what we call verification mode and we have what we call the validation mode. So the first time you're interacting with the application, you're verifying you're able to. Do you understand? You're verifying you're able to click a button. So we use words like verify user is able to click a button. Does it make sense? Verify user is able or verify user is directed to the login page after clicking. So all those terms are what we use. right? Then we have an expected criteria, expected results that says users should be able to click the login functionality. I don't have a sample here. I would have showed you, but I'm sure some of us know what test cases are, right? Philip, you want to say something?
So I want to ask a question. You did mention something on the staging environment.
Okay.
Fonts they use there for testing. So I want to
Phone.
ask, what
Did you say phone?
fonts? Okay, maybe like in a banking app, okay, maybe they're doing some tests in the staging environment
Mm-hmm.
where they have a testing fonts.
Fund, like FUNDS, funds.
Yes, like maybe money that they're using to test for testing.
Okay.
So what will happen if this fund does not clear out and it's being moved to the production environment?
You're getting it wrong. Now, the fonts there are simulated. So that's why I use the word simulated. What I'm saying is they are there. A dummy is, anything in your staging environment is not real. Do you understand? They are added by the development team, developers. They can credit you £1 billion or £1 million just so you can test if you can transact that amount out of your account. It is not real. Do you understand? They are just figures, the dummy details. I don't know if you understand, Philip. They
I
are not.
understand.
Yeah, they are
So,
not.
okay, so even if they are being moved to the maybe by maybe a bug or something
So
that are oversight and they are being moved to the production environment.
if it's moved to production, where you say production, before it gets to production, it has to pass through different stages. You get to the UAT first. In that UAT, they will clear all the data. Now you've confirmed during your staging or during your testing that you were able to credit, you were able to debit, everything was working fine. Now, when you credited social amount, the actual amount was updated to the right amount you credited. When you debited the amount from your account, it was updated to the amount you debited. Now you've confirmed all this thing. In the UAT, is now where we will now test real figures. Does it make sense? Now, it is no longer a staging application where they will credit you the figure, but developers can decide to credit it to you. But in this UAT, they will now credit real money, like 10,000 naira, so you can test. When you debit, it is real, it is debited for real. Do you understand? In that phase, anything you are doing in that phase is real. Does it make sense? So production is a long thing. Production is when it is now deployed and then can now use it is now accessible by the public. Does it make sense? So there is an environment within the dev team that it can test in a real life scenario, which is called the UAT. Are we together? Philip is
Yes.
all right, good. That means we understand what we are saying. So when you're writing your test cases, don't
John,
just write.
okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, Philip, I can hear you. Go on. Do you want to say something?
Yeah. The reason why I'm asking is we had a scenario where a customer did all the testing, but something happened, they forgot, and they moved to the production environment where they were live. And this type of scenario occur, though it was not a financial institution, though. So this type of scenario was happening in the production environment.
In the production
That's the
environment.
reason. Yeah, that's why I'm asking this question.
Yeah, and that is the lapses from the development team, because the testers cannot determine the environment. They are only given the environment to test. So, but if you are experienced, you are in a stage. And why would you even test in a production environment? It's very easy to know if you are in a production environment. If you are in a production environment, the URL will be updated. And the dummy data as you are doing will not be dummy. It will be debiting you for real from your bank account. So, of course, there are so many things to
Mr. John,
determine
sorry,
whether
can I say something?
you should as well raise up your hand if you want to say something so I don't get interrupted. and I don't forget what I'm about to say. Do you understand? So there are so many scenarios we can use to measure whether we are in the production or we are still in the staging. Sometimes when you're testing in the URL, you see something like Azure, something, something, or staging, something, something. Those are still testing environments. But when you see something like www.philip.com, those kind of scenarios are the production. And as an expert or as an experienced person, you raise an alarm or you raise a defect that we haven't moved into the UAT or into the next phase, or we haven't even done the integration. How then are we testing this in production? Maybe it was even the lapses of a developer that did not know. He migrated everything to production. And that's how they will know you are very effective. So you can see the difference of the URL. Do you understand? Yeah. Victor, you wanted to say something. Go on. Victor.
No, it's David. I actually wanted to say something.
Oh, sorry,
Okay,
David.
so
David, yeah.
so what you've said is true, because when you're testing, when you're migrating to the real life, the data for testing are not moved along. If you're using David.this to log in during testing, when it's moved to live, you can't use that same login for live. It won't go through.
Exactly.
So maybe there was a lapses from the backend developer that did not flush the DB before moving it to the real life, because truly it won't. Even when you're using your card, there is a dummy card we use in making payment to check if it is working. If you use that card in life, it will never work.
Exactly my point. So there are so many measures to confirm you are either testing in the testing environment or in the production environment. It is just your experience. So that is why whenever you are taking a training or you are at any stage or any point in life, it is very, very important to try your best. A lot of us, we undermine efforts. Most of what we do, these tutors, let me tell you one truth. These facilitators you see that come up here and teach you, most of them have jobs. So, do you know they are not jobless? Do you understand? Some of them are even more busier than you. Now imagine after all this whole thing, coming here to train and you're not giving or showing appreciation. Most of what Udeme said earlier, they give an assignment for you guys to post. How busy can you be to even encourage a facilitator who would go to work, right? And come here and organize this class and make sure everyone have access to your training, and still at them they prepare the recording and share. So it means that you guys are not taking it seriously. Some of you are taking it for granted. And that is why giving your best at everything you do is very, very important. Don't think because this is a free training, then you don't need it. You need it because there's no knowledge that is a waste. So I want to encourage you, even if you've been using one ear to listen to, this training, I think it's high time you focus on it. What worst can it be? How many months will you really take this training for? Probably in the next 3 months or 5 months, you're done. And the good thing about your training is if you're able to, be productive, if this training can reflect in you, if you can speak the technical terms, being articulated, and then really, really you learn something. It's no jokes or no pranks. Some people may end up not learning anything, to be honest. Why some people will learn most of, they will learn so much. Why some will learn, a little. But what I'm just trying to say is set your priority right. Create your time. Set your timing to learn and practice on your own. It's not even for anybody. It's not for anybody, not for any tutor, not for any facilitator or organizer, for yourself. Remember, the training is hosted for you. And no one knows whether in future there might be another free training. Do you understand? So why not make good use of what you have now? You all can agree with me. If you go to a training institute, they will charge you even more. But all this knowledge you'll be learning for free. So I advise you to, make the most out of it. Do you all understand? If you have questions, go through it, read it first, understand it first. Negotiate, plan with your team. before you even bring it to a tutor. So you even have a level of understanding. You understand? All right. So as I was saying, if you check your test cases, there are two things you must ensure. Very, 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 very important. You must write your positive scenario, good and fine. What are your positive scenarios? It's on my screen here. It says it is also known as happy path testing. It is an approach to execute test cases in normal conditions. What are the normal conditions? User can enter email. User can
Mr. John, your camera is on, please. Are you aware?
Oh, really? Sorry. Wow. All right, thank you. Users can enter email. Users can enter password. I hope it makes sense. But remember, we are testers. We may not just test application in the normal way. We have to test in the abnormal way. What are these abnormal way? That is what we call the negative testing. What are the negative testing? Normally, if we sign up without anybody, without anyone teaching us, when we want to sign up, let's say we sign up with abc@gmail.com. Can we then log in with xyz@gmail.com if it is not already signed up on that application? Of course, we can't log in. True or false? True, right?
Yes,
So
true.
in this sense, we'll be looking out for the negative things, anything that can abnormally impact the application. So we can try to log in with, credentials that are not, what is the word called now, that are not registered in the database. We can try to like log in with a wrong, invalid password or wrong password. Then we start to, test the application integrity, test the behavior. Of course, if we log in with the wrong password, we are expected to get an error message. You should document that test. That when user enters the correct password or correct or invalid email, they should get an error message. Test that when users are trying to log in with an empty field, they get an error message. And remember, your error message should be clearly defined. It should speak to what the error is speaking to. So if you log in with an empty field, for instance, it should tell you, please fill in the fields or fill in the required fields. There are some error messages that don't match at all. It's your job to correct this application, the behavior. The everything about the application should be correct. So all these things are what we call negative testing. You are testing the application. You are not focused on following the positive parts. You're focused on uncovering bugs or defects or security vulnerabilities, that may not have been identified through the positive testing. So these are what you should do. You write positive scenario, you tackle it with what? Negative scenario. Those are the steps that helps you with enough test coverage. Does it make sense? Enough what? Test coverage. Now, the difference is this. When you're writing your test cases in the positive way, you are writing it based on what the requirement is saying. Why? Because the requirement has said users should successfully log in, email and password. When you try to log in with email and password, of course, you're following the requirement. But when you're not following the requirement is when you're confirming negative scenarios because you want to uncover defects. You want to be able to check that this application can perform according, to what it is built. It is performing exactly how it is meant to perform. Number one is positive scenario does not ensures 100% test coverage because there might be some tests you miss out. There may be some errors you may not identify. But you see, when you test in a negative way, you stand a chance to have enough test coverage. Can I ask one question, please? David, I can see your hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Don't worry. No, when you're done. So you don't forget what I want to say.
Okay, good. Can we identify just a difference now between negative and scenario? Because everyone is quiet. Do we really have an idea of what negative is speaking to and what the positive is speaking to? At this point, anybody?
Yes, we do.
Only David?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
Yes, we
do.
do. Yes, we do.
I'm hoping that everybody should talk. Like, you guys are too quiet.
Yes, we
It's
do. We
true.
know the
Why is everybody
difference.
very quiet? There are some of you eating at this time. All
No,
right.
no, no.
All right. Now,
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
wonderful.
do.
We have this one. Positive scenario doesn't ensure defect-free software because if you're following the positive way of testing application, you may not get too much of the defect. You may not. But negative ensures defect-free. Imagine you're able to log in without even entering the details at all. Imagine it. You didn't even put username, password, but you logged in. How? That's an error. Do you understand? But negative will ensure that you're getting the right error message at the appropriate or the right action you're putting up in the, you're trying to test for. Anyone can be a positive tester. Anybody. If you tell somebody now, test this application if the application is working well, they will of course test if they can log in and log out, and they will test if they landed in the dashboard. They will also test if they are able to view some items on the dashboard, but they won't test as a tester. Professionals test more in a negative scenario. In fact, let me tell you what makes you a good tester. The capacity or the tendency of bringing imaginary defects. You just sit down and imagine what can go wrong in this application. Let me just think of one thing that can go wrong, in this application. Those things will give you an idea of what to test, how to test. There are some applications you get to, you feel like you've never done testing before because a lot of details will be there for you. You cannot comprehend everything. So please, if you've never been writing test cases in negative, if you've never been adding negative scenarios in your test cases today, I think you should just try I would still encourage you guys should have a team. So after this call, I promise I'm going to share something. So I'll definitely share it. And there's something you guys have to do. I don't want everybody to leave. We'll be leaving here very soon because of your time. I know you guys are going to work. Let's just finish this and we'll leave. But there's something I want to share the list of names. Now, guys, this is your opportunity. No one is going to force you to take the responsibility for yourself. Maybe some of you, your problem is you don't know how to read alone. I'm going to share the list of the set of people I've identified from the list I got from the class rep. You guys will probably have a group or WhatsApp or anything. I don't know. You have to now practice on your own. You see, on Friday, I will share my assignment here and to be a presentation. All of you must contribute together. Now, this will help you guys know how to collaborate with yourselves. This will help you know how to, contribute to a discussion, contribute ideas. It's going to give you like a staging experience of how your project will be. When you guys start interacting with yourself, you start asking questions, you start giving ideas, you will see that you work even faster and better as a team than working alone. And you may not even have training time, even outside your training days. So after this class, I'm going to share the list of names. And if you find your name in Group A, please contact people in Group A. I believe that one person can take charge. I didn't add any group leader for each of the groups. Just take charge of your group. Be a responsible leader yourself and organize people in there. So I expect one person to probably create a WhatsApp group, drop it for Group A, and everybody joins, stuff like that. It helps. So now from here, we moved into less time. If you're conducting a positive testing, it doesn't, it saves time because you'll be able to do it in a blink of an eye. But when you're doing the negative, it consumes more time. Why? Because you'll be thinking of where, things can go wrong, and that can probably take your time. So, of course, we know that the positive scenario test cases doesn't ensure good quality product. But as well, of course, this negative ensures good quality product. Now, let me give you an example of what you can test in the positive scenario. A field of numbers, let's say phone number field, accepts number from 0 to 10. Positive scenario is you can enter 0. Of course, he accepts not 0 because this is greater than 0. He accepts, or let's say he accepts 0, not 0 to 10. So you can enter 0, 1, 2, 3 to 10. Now, you can type in 5, 6, 7. You can type in 0 You can type in 1. You can type in anything between 0 and 1. But negative scenario is when you are testing if you can type alphabet into that field. Does it make sense now? Because this field is meant for numbers, you shouldn't be able to type in alphabet. You shouldn't be able to type in special characters. Neither should you be able to type in fields. And I say field, spaces. Do you guys understand? You shouldn't even make the numbers alphanumeric. So all these are what you test. Then you identify the defect and then raise it as a defect and inform the developer or inform the assigned person in charge and tell them, oh guys, this is what I noticed. So please check this and help us identify this and resolve it immediately. Does it make sense, everybody? Of course, the negative testing is called ad hoc testing, monkey or gorilla testing. Do you understand? So, hold on, guys. Hello, hold on. Please, can you all hear me? There's a loud noise coming from somewhere. So, in the next class, we'll rush defect execution. Key steps of defect execution is not hard, but before the next class, listen, go through this defect execution. Key steps in defect execution. Now, when you raise a new defect, these are basically what you'll be doing, right? When you raise a new defect. Of course, to talk about this is not much. We'll talk about this and then we'll talk about the tools for a defect. And then we'll talk about waterfall. Of course, this one is just like we just scratch a bit into it, then we end. Now, what am I saying? Go today and tomorrow, take your time and learn about defect cycle, your defect life cycle, defect execution, and key steps in defect execution, all those things. We'll talk deeply, we'll go deeply into it on Friday, then we'll then start our presentation. Now, I am going to do something. Let me see, how many are we now? Let me see. How many are we in class? 56, right? 59, right?
59.
Yes, sir.
Are you guys in a position where you can, share unveil your camera? Like
Yes,
everybody?
yes.
Okay, can you all do it? I just want to see some of the wonderful people
Not
that
everybody.
don't worry, some of them that will do it should do it. I want to see the wonderful people that have been talking. Can you all see me clearly?
No, we can't see you yet.
You can't see me?
See you yet, Mr. John.
Let me see this Gloria. Let me see. Okay, I don't want to pronounce the name. It's S something, Shobo something. That name. I can't pronounce. I'm sorry. Let me.
My camera is on. My name is Deborah Shoyombo. My camera is on.
Oh, this is Deborah's face. Oh.
This is my.
Are you hearing me? Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can see you now. We can hear you now.
Okay, so I want to take a picture of everyone in this class. Just for my record. And of course, I'm going to write wonderful review about you guys. Some of you, when I saw your what you posted on LinkedIn, I mean, I read about it. I read what you guys did, and it was very encouraging. I'm sure to some people, this is your first time.
Can you see me?
Okay, I think some of you are breaking now. Just mute yourself, please. So, I mean, I know some of you, this is probably your first time to join software testing training. You guys have been taking it very seriously. I don't know what you intend to do with software testing, but I know most definitely. Everything you guys have planned to do, you definitely achieve it, right? All you need to do is just to put your time into training and learn very well. That's all. There's no magic. So, I mean, I just want to take pictures of you guys. If you guys don't mind,
say cheese.
Okay, that's wonderful. So thank you so much, guys. We've come to the end of today's program. I mean, today's class. like I said, I'm going to drop the list and the names of everyone that everyone that would be in the group. How do I end this meeting?
Please, Mr. John, please help us solicit on our behalf to Udeme that will actually buckle down and make her proud. Please.
No, you guys have to show some level of commitment. I will definitely talk to her, but of course, you have to show some level of commitment. And how do you show it? You all will send a message, and of course, to the group, the emergency group or emergence group. Then you all will tell her what you will do differently. Yes, you tell her what you do differently. And of course, it will show. In your next class, I want to be able to just talk. Can everybody are giving me the answers? You go as far as knowing what is in my mind. It is as let it go as deep.
That one is AI mood.
Let it be as deep as that.
Is that possible?
Yes, it is.
What you learned today, let's try it again today. The same thing you did today by sharing your learning of SDLC. Of course, you can still do the same thing today. Go to your LinkedIn. Tell us what you've learned. If there is no group, I'm going to solicit her now to give you guys a chance and also create a group, a channel called What I Have Learned Today, so that you can then share what you've learned, that today, and then post it on your Slack channel. And of course, you all should also post it on your LinkedIn channel. Do you understand? It's very, very helpful. You might never can tell. Somebody might just come to your page and learn something from your page, and then the person might be inspired to even become a software tester. Do you understand? And someone might even see what you post, to be honest, and want to even offer you a job. My best jobs, to be honest with you guys, my best job have never been me working to submit CVs. I don't have strength. Most of the time, it's recommendation. Alpha, I see what you did. I like it. Come and take this position. So if it works for me, why can't it work for you? And that's why I said, be intentional with your learning. That thing you've learned, show them, and don't be shy. Come to the class, talk. Nobody will insult you for talking or asking questions, except they don't want you to learn. You said these are giddy for them, So that's also what I want to encourage you guys. And thank you so much for being a wonderful people.
Mr. John, please can we get this slide?
Why do you want my slide? Create your own. Are you not a software tester?
So that we'll be able to fall back
No,
to
you're a software tester now. Create your
potential software tester.
John, give slide now.
Okay, I should give them.
Yes, now. How would they revise? He said they should create their own.
Okay, I'll send it to them.
Please look into it, Mr. John.
All right, I will. I'll send it to you guys. But after your presentation, so you don't just take my slide. You have to present to me. I'll share.
You're not giving us what to present, right?
Yes, I will share the assignment. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll share the assignment afterwards. All right. So I think that is all for now. Does anyone have any question before we call it a day? Some of you that are what is it called? Some of you that are actually talking and smiling. Some of you are really not very active in class. I mean, I encourage you to start talking and start, contributing. Very, very importantly. All right. Does anyone have any question, please?
Yes,
Any
Mr.
question?
John, do we have class tomorrow?
No, tomorrow is Thursday. It's till Friday, please.
All right,
you have 1 day to yourself to settle in and practice everything you've learned. Is that all?
Yes, for now.
Okay. So I'm going to share it to the group. And thank you so much, everybody. It's been a wonderful session with you guys. I hope to see you guys again on Friday. And everybody, don't forget, I want to see your post on LinkedIn. Please. It will show me that you're learning, and I'll definitely follow up with you. And, we'll definitely, everybody should comment when you see a post like that online. And of course, contribute by sharing it, liking it, commenting, giving them good reviews are also one way to be able to, express your learning out there. Give them good reviews. Anybody you see from ENST. Have a good one, guys. Till we meet again on Friday. Take care.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Deme. Deme, we are very
Thank you very
sorry.
much.
We will.
Good night, everyone.
Please, we are sorry.
No, we'll continue in the chat so that the recording is not too long. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining the call.
Good night to
Good
Deme.
night.
Good night. Thank
Good
you very
night,
much.
Mr. John. Thank